Death, taxes, Patrick LaVon Mahomes. AFC championships are not supposed to feel this normal. Super Bowl appearances are not supposed to feel this normal, but you don't have a normal quarterback in Kansas City. You have one that is exceeding the expectations of anyone who's ever watched him play. Michael Jordan is a Kansas City Chief, and yet again, this team is heading to another Super Bowl. What's up, everybody? Ken Swanson, Craig Stout, Maddie Lane here in Dallas, Texas, here at the Shrine Bowl, but you know we were doing a post-game show for this one. The Chiefs have won 17-10, winning the AFC again, ripping the hearts again out of an AFC North opponent, putting down again the legacy of another quarterback trying to have the audacity to step to the greatest player in the history of our sport, Patrick LaVon Mahomes. Chiefs go into Baltimore, beat the Ravens. What a game.
On the road. You got that at the end. It was on the road.
On the road.
Nah, you're never on the road when you're at Mahomes.
Okay. What?
Just saying.
I'm not used to this.
I'm
this
riding
is normally
high.
my job.
I'm riding high.
This is a game. This is a game. We had been kind of live watching it, this whole time. For everybody who was with us during that, thank you for that. But we had a great time. Game was obviously great. It got a little tight there at the end. It got a little tight. Chiefs had to step up. I mean, this is what they do, right? This is what they do. Each week is a new game. Every single time the score starts 0-0. It doesn't matter what your DVOA ranking is this year. It doesn't matter what your DVOA ranking is all year. Weighted, not weighted, rank this, rank that, stat this, stat that. At the end of the day, the only stat that matters is one's about to purchase some tickets to Cancun, and one's about to purchase some to go to Las Vegas to play in another Super Bowl, Craig.
I think the story of this game started before the game. And no, I'm not talking about the Ravens' antics. I'm talking about the shirts that the Kansas City Chiefs defense was wearing, which were factual and accurate. And this man is a postseason hero. Steve Spagnuolo is elite. An elite defensive coordinator, a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator that is now in yet another Super Bowl. The Chiefs do this one. Yes, Mahomes was good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to take away. The Chiefs' defense was elite. They did this on the back of their defense today.
All right, so here's the deal. I am always going to cape hard for Patrick Mahomes, and I'm always going to run my mouth when a quarterback tries to step to him and is incapable of doing it and makes huge mistakes that cost his team the game.
That's all of them.
So I'm always going to have that slant because our quarterback's chasing a legacy right now. But, yeah, it's – you can hear B.J. Kissel in the background now. The defense was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And
some would say great.
Great. They were,
Some would say phenomenal.
There was two. If we're being honest, there was two great defenses playing in this game here. Because both sides of the football, I think the Ravens defense showed exactly why they were one of the best defenses in football this year. And I think the Chiefs were just flat out better. They were better than the Ravens defense. They didn't give up those early opening drives. Spags was dialed in from Jump Street.
Some would say locked in. And they really didn't have, the Ravens really didn't have an answer for 60 minutes of football. They really didn't find a rhythm. There was a few mistakes that the Chiefs made that the Ravens finally capitalized on, and that was it. That was the Ravens' entire offensive success, right? And so you got later in the game, and they found some ways to attack the Chiefs' defense underneath, kind of throwing the ball short over the middle of the field or out to the flats. And yeah, they moved the ball a little bit doing that, but for the most part, the Ravens' success came on a couple broken plays, and credit to the Ravens and Lamar Jackson for going out, completing those passes, making the plays on those, right? Spinning out of a sack and throwing a long touchdown to Zay Flowers. Credit to him for having his own pass batted in the air and catching it himself so it wasn't intercepted for his fourth turnover of the game, or a blown coverage where he finds Zay Flowers down the field. But that was their offense. They couldn't run the ball. They spent all this time talking about how this team was going to run the ball, and they're so physical, and hey, look, we put this offensive lineman as a fullback and watch us outmuscle you. Yikes.
Yeah.
That's your bread and butter? That's what you do? You couldn't do anything against this Chiefs defense on the ground. Anything. That's what you do. That's your identity, Baltimore? Really?
Really? They came out in the pregame and decided they were going to talk shit. They were going to get in. They were going to get into it with the Chiefs DBs. Justin Tucker was going to line up and try and, antagonize Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. They were going to come out and act tough.
A dust-up with the GOAT and also Justin Tucker.
A kicker trying to intimidate is my favorite phrase ever said.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
That was the whole mentality. They were trying.
They were trying
to get under the skin. They were trying to do what the Bengals did a couple years ago and get under the skin of the Chiefs.
Correct. They were trying to win the mental battle before the game, and what they forgot about is that all of these guys on this Kansas City Chiefs team, all of them, even the brand new ones that haven't been around for this series of success, are locked in, are dialed in, are different. They're listening to this coaching staff. They're listening to Steve Spagnuolo and company that just says, hey, no, we don't got to talk. We're going to go up and we're going to back it up.
Fake bully-ass team is what they are.
Yeah.
They come out before this game starts. They're pushing. They're starting fights ever. They spent the entire time in their press. Oh, they got to come deal with us. They're not that special. We're going to come deal with us. We're the best ever. They get out on the field. Oh, we're going to set up our kicker in the middle of their warm-ups. We're going to have our linebackers talking smack all game. We're going to have our nickel cornerback, who, by the way, got knocked out of the game on a completely legal block.
And then gave up the MVS catch.
Ooh. And they do all these guys talking smack. Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, they're hitting players after the snap every single time, trying to beg and bait for a penalty. They don't get one, but you know what they did get? 5 of their own penalties on stupid plays.
Stupid.
Hitting Mahomes late, hitting him in the head.
Throwing a ball at L'Jarius Sneed and standing over him.
Trying to start fights, having Travis Kelce, of all people, laugh at you for overreacting on a football field. They were fake bullies, and they talked so much before the game, and they just got run out of their own stadium.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and so this is one thing I think might be a little bit scary for, I think, the National Football League is, I think, and I think we're starting to take it for granted a little bit, but I think the experience factor of being in those games showed up so big.
It matters.
And this is, the 6 straight of these particular games, they've learned their lessons. They learned the hard way against the Bengals a few years ago. I think they kind of got in their own heads a little bit in that game. I know. But you saw, I think, just the mature team won today. The Ravens they looked like their quarterback had only won one playoff game in their life. They looked
0 when the opposing team scored more than 13 points.
And 0 when the opposing team scored more.
That's so sad that held.
I love that it's still true. Oh, I love how true. Oh, they couldn't do anything. The experience factor can't be taken for granted, and I think we're learning that. And it's some of the, I don't want to say intangibles of what is happening right now, but people aren't taking that into consideration appropriately. They're the 4th best DVOA team in the history of the National Football League.
Because they're a good football team.
Good football team, but they can't handle.
Not good enough.
They're not good enough. Their best wasn't good enough. The Ravens' best wasn't good enough. Like the Bengals' best wasn't good enough last year.
It's when we look at this time and time again, we are going to keep coming back to Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo just being that next level of prepared, that next level of ready for the postseason. We spent all season long. It's going to be so hard to care about the regular season next year, Matty. Let's be real here.
It just simply doesn't matter.
It just doesn't. And that's scary. That is really scary. And it's hard to really sit here and do all this because this offense was bad throughout the regular season, especially at the end. Now, it wasn't great today.
It struggled today.
But that was an elite defense. They were bad against non-elite defense. And so this is one of those that we watched time and time again and said, I don't know how they're going to overcome these hurdles. I don't know how they're going to be able to do this. I don't know how they're going to be able to get over the hump and get back to the AFC Championship game. And here they are winning it.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's something to be said. So there's been a lot of comments made about, like Mahomes has made recently, about how basically he's trying to be the kind of quarterback that's right for this team. Mm-hmm. And that means a little bit of there's some game management happening differently than it's ever happened with Mahomes. And I think there's a lot of reliance and trust in this defense because this is an elite defense. This is a great defense. And so I think Mahomes has shown a lot of maturity in the decisions he hasn't made, by just being willing to live another down. And so I think there's probably going to be some moments on tape that we're going to want, that the Chiefs are probably going to want back.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the fact that Mahomes endured a lot of, really good calls by Baltimore and, really tough defense and just kind of managed this 10-point lead that they maintained for the vast majority of this game. I think there's some maturity to that too, even though they could have really closed this game out with a touchdown. They still also did a really good job of just managing that game the second half, not making any of those critical mistakes, that's been the thing that's kept this team from winning. That was the thing. That was the piece of the formula, is just eliminating those mistakes has been enough for this team to find a winning formula. And they've won a lot of football games in the last month now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been huge, right? They've kind of transitioned, I think, the offense from not even hunting, but like knowing they need to score points to win to, hey, the defense really might not give up hardly anything. Yeah. We can win if we score 17. Yeah, scoring 0 points on 3 turnovers is really bad, and like that does need to be fixed. Like, and we can keep saying that you can't win the next game like that. You can't win the next game like that. Guess what? They can win the next game like that, and the next game like that, because the defense has been that good. The offense is finding enough. I do think the offense got a little conservative, but credit to Mahomes. Yeah. He didn't make any big plays. He didn't start pressing when things were doing that. I think when we go back and watch, you're going to see a couple plays where he probably makes a safer play or takes a negative play or a nothing play instead of trying to hunt for a bigger play given the game script, that's great. That shows a lot of maturity. And I don't think we can also forget, this is a little difficult task for them, right? They're missing their best offensive lineman is not playing in this game in Joe Thuney. And Nick Allegretti was very good stepping in for Joe Thuney. Very good. There were a couple plays where, hey, he got lined up one-on-one with the Ravens' best defensive lineman and lost pretty quick. That might have sunk a play. Oh, guess what? The Chiefs are also missing their best pass protection running back. How many times in the second half did we see a running back not execute a block or maybe miss up a pick and give up a free blitzer, right? So it's not like this was a cakewalk for the Chiefs or Mahomes. And even still, I thought he started the game absolutely perfect for almost a full quarter, a little bit longer. He ends the game, obviously, with a huge throw that puts the game away. There was some stuff in the middle that I'm sure he wants back, but you nailed it. No major negative plays, didn't give the ball over, the Chiefs offense never gave the Ravens a chance to get back into this football game. They made them earn every single thing they ever got on the field, and that's what they needed to do. And this offense, I think, gets that. I think Mahomes fully understands that, and he's now, not that he wasn't before okay winning, but he's now okay winning by scoring 17 points, whereas in the past, he might have wanted to score the 24, the 30 instead.
I can't wait for the narratives coming out. Oh, Mahomes was not very good in this game. Mahomes was not good in this game. They
Is that just a Lamar caper? Come on.
I don't know. There's going to be that element of it, but you're right. It was safe. It was conservative. And in the moment, it's like, man, just try to get some of that stuff going. Just try to elevate this. A first down here, a touchdown kills this game off. Just go get one. And they played safe, because we've watched this team too many times this year shoot themselves in the foot. Just, a costly turnover, a bad mistake. Now all of a sudden you've allowed the opposition to claw their way back into the game. They played safe for the better part of a full half in this game. They just did.
And I said early in our live stream we were doing, I said probably early third quarter, I said if the Chiefs don't turn the ball over in this game, they're going to win it.
Correct.
Just how the script was going and how they're handling it. They part of the formula is obviously, at this point, everyone's been talking about how they've really done a good job of funneling it through their playmakers, right? They've eliminated players from the game plan that have made critical errors, and they did it again today. And this isn't a knock on McColl, because I said I think they need to try to hit McColl on one of these big plays, and plus, but they kind of eliminated him from the game plan too in this one too. And I think, Rasheed made some mistakes early in the season. Travis made some mistakes early in the season. But the thing about this team is those two have risen to the occasion. Those two eliminated the mistakes from their games largely. And Isaiah Pacheco has just been steady the entirety of the season. They trimmed the fat. They got rid of the guys that were making those back-breaking, plays that were kind of losing this team football games. And good things happened.
So they spent all regular season throwing a bunch of stuff out there, starting to see what sticks, seeing what works, seeing what they can play off of going forward. Hits the playoffs, and okay, against the Dolphins, we're going to do this. Against the Bills, we're going to do this. And against the Ravens, we're going to do this. And while a lot of it didn't work, they got enough to start to give themselves a head start. I think we saw a couple drives in the second half that showed they can still try to get somewhere if they needed to, but they didn't need to because of the way the defense played. So, they just started shrinking it down. They threw a bunch of stuff out there. Like you said, they're cutting off the parts that they don't need. We don't need this. This isn't working. This doesn't help our team. And by simplifying, by slowing it down a little bit, they were able to get an offense that is going, that is rolling. But I do think you nailed the big thing there. Travis Kelce stepping up in this game. Woo! But even more in his game, he is now the all-time leader in the NFL playoffs for receptions. He has passed Jerry Rice for the all-time lead in receptions in the playoffs. That is absolutely outstanding.
Bananas. Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Chiefs win 17-10 in Baltimore. Another AFC Championship game. It's weird how muted. It's not that this is muted. It's just I'm not numb to it. It's just so surreal and cool and great. But like, there is a level of comfort to this too. Right?
Everybody watching our watch along saw how excited we all were when they finally won. So I don't know if I agree with that.
I just like we're not as unhinged and run our and maybe a little bit of it is because like I don't like the Bengals.
Yes.
And I don't really like the Ravens. And actually,
they had some goofy antics.
I like the Ravens a lot less than I did walking into this game because they're kind of a group of cheap punks.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of that on that team. And that's what cost them the game. The lack of discipline from a non-championship football team.
Playing against Patrick Mahomes cost them the game is my guess.
Yeah, just the frustration from them was hilarious.
Patrick Mahomes scoring 14 points cost them the game.
I think Steve Spagnuolo allowing them to do absolutely nothing cost them the game.
There's just so many storylines with this game that are just so much fun. You want to get back to the defense at all?
No, I mean, I'll get back to the defense, but I do want to talk a little bit about from the offensive perspective. It was not great in the second half.
Yeah.
It wasn't. They tried to tweak some things. They tried to make some adjustments because Baltimore was teeing off. Kyle Hamilton was phenomenal after the first two drives of this game. He was absolutely outstanding. Roquan Smith, aside from a boneheaded personal foul penalty at the end of the game there, I'm trying not to trigger you, and Patrick Queen were both terrific in this game. The Baltimore defense came to play. It's not like the Chiefs caught Baltimore sleeping or the Chiefs caught Baltimore on a bad day. They were outstanding today. The Baltimore defense was not the issue at all today. It was just Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce being outstanding at the beginning of this game, getting up, to the point that they were, and then, the Chiefs defense locking it down. I did want to tip my hat to guys like Kyle Hamilton that played so well for this Baltimore defense.
And it was great that we got to see him give up a touchdown catch to Travis Kelce while you were talking on the highlight. Kyle Hamilton was great. After the first two drives, not that the Chiefs were targeting him, just the first two drives, the Chiefs had some success with blocking Kyle Hamilton in the run game, getting the touchdown on him. And I'm not saying he was playing bad, but he was absolutely outstanding after that. He was one of the few reasons the Chiefs offense could do absolutely nothing. There was a couple. They started teeing off on the Chiefs' split zone run game, and Hamilton was crashing off the back end and cutting stuff down. The few times the Chiefs tried to go under center to run, same thing. They were kind of afraid to go deep play action off the under center stuff because of how Kyle Hamilton was firing downhill. He was tackling great. He was a great player. He played outstanding. If they didn't start slow, if Andy, Mahomes, Kelce didn't start so hot with the scripted plays off the beginning, the Ravens might have very much had themselves in a very tighter football game most of the way because in large part because of his play. I thought their defensive line also played great. The linebackers were good. That defensive line kept Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith squeaky clean all game long. Yeah. It was allowing them just to step in and fill every gap. The Chiefs, if they could have the same run success they had against the Bills, against the Eagles last year in the playoffs, against the Dolphins, I think they put this game away a lot earlier.
Yeah.
They just could get nothing done on the ground in the second half because that defensive line was keeping those two super athletic linebackers completely free. They were playing downhill and reading everything out. I think part of it went to the Chiefs playing a little conservative, down the stretch. They weren't making them back up. But the Ravens defense played a great football game. They just ran into a player and a team that is better than them. And that's okay. You can be the second best in the AFC. You might have been the best team ever by weight of DVOA, but you were still the second best team in the AFC this year. That's tough. Go to sleep with that.
They do not hand out a Lamar Hunt trophy for DVOA. I hate to break it to
somebody might actually
to the Ravens. They might, they might. But yeah, I mean, it was a very low scoring game. There was a lot of 3 and outs. There was a lot of quick possessions for both sides of this team. This was a very defensive driven game.
Very much.
Which, in some ways, if the Chiefs want to play like that, I like the Chiefs' chances better than, if they want to play in the teens. And it's like, hey, which quarterback doesn't make the big back-breaking mistake? I kind of like the Chiefs in those kind of situations. I mean, that's a formula for success. The Chiefs found them. The Chiefs used it. Mahomes didn't make any big mistakes, and like he protected it. He did a good job protecting that 10-point lead. I know the run game wasn't working, but the clock was running.
Yeah,
like the clock moves a little bit. In fact, I would have. It sounds dumb. I wouldn't have hated a little bit more run pass just to keep the clock running. That was the longest third quarter in the history of the world. That's just because both teams were going back and forth. I know.
Your great friend here, I don't think could have survived much more run pass.
I can't believe
I would have died.
I can't believe I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But it's just I can't believe I'm saying that.
Are we ready to pivot?
We can.
We ready to pivot? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a serious question here. Name a defender that wasn't awesome today for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm not going to name anyone.
Right.
I'm not going to name
That's
anyone.
what it was.
I think there was a couple, but I'm not going to name anyone.
I thought everybody played outstanding. I thought that everybody was terrific. Everybody came up with a major play in this. This was not a single individual effort. I think that we said about 3-4 weeks before the playoffs, we said if there's one play or one player that you can make elite and you think that could carry the Chiefs through the postseason, I said Chris Jones. Chris Jones was terrific today.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. Chris Jones was terrific today. Chris Jones being elite wasn't going to be enough. They needed plays from everybody.
Yeah. And they got from Karlaftis had
Nick
the best
Bolton,
rush.
Nick Bolton was really good today.
People need to give him a break on the interception because he did have a cast on.
That's
give him a
late
break.
in the rep that he's on Zay Flowers.
Well, people are getting mad about him. Like with Zay, don't get mad.
Nobody
about
cares
Zay
about
Flowers.
I don't think anybody should care about the touchdown. The interception, it's unfortunate. He's in a great position.
a cast.
Good coverage play. It hit him in the face before the cast. So I'm not gonna give the cast credit, but he did great coverage. Great coverage. He ran the route. He undercut. That was perfect coverage, right? So if you're getting mad that a guy broke up a pass instead of had an interception, we got bigger issues.
On a third down. Yeah.
I'm with Craig. I don't think anybody was not good. I don't know if I think everybody was great or anything,
Right.
but
That's kind of where I'm at.
Everybody was good, and there were some guys that were absolutely great. And that's the thing with this defense, though. There's not a weakness. There's not this glaring weakness. Yes, we've poked holes in ways some teams have been able to attack them a little bit, right? And once Charles Omenihu got hurt after a very good start to the game,
oh my goodness,
there was some issues with the pass rush. And Chris Jones was very good, but he couldn't do it by himself. Karlaftis made some great plays. But they got gassed. I know that too. But without Charles Omenihu, I do think the 4-man pass rush took a step back.
Yeah.
But nobody was bad. Everybody was good. And to Craig's point, even more than being good, everybody made a play that really mattered. That's the bigger thing. Even if you weren't elite, everybody made an exceptional play at some point in time in this game to really get the Chiefs to where they were. Every single person.
Think about it.
It's insane.
Go up and down the list. You've got L'Jarius Sneed, and L'Jarius had a couple rough moments, but L'Jarius Sneed also makes the play of the game, right? He comes right back. He gives up a big touch or gives a big play. Zay Flowers throws a football on him after pushing him, like an immature rookie who the moment was too big for him.
Then cuts his hand by punching his own helmet on accident.
And then but he comes back. He makes a big play. Trent McDuffie was outstanding today.
After a bad play where he got completely cooked on a post corner. Then he comes back and makes a pass breakup on Odell Beckham Jr. over the middle of the field.
And I think there's some rebounds there too, right? Because Bolton had some struggles in the flats, but downfield making some plays up there.
Everybody,
there was just
everybody.
Deon Bush.
Deon Bush barely got to play. And he makes a game-sealing interception. This is...
Jalen Watson, good down the field in coverage. Joshua Williams down the field in coverage. And a special teams play, too.
Tershawn Wharton getting out from where he was to outrun Lamar Jackson to the sideline. Now, this ended up forcing the field goal, right? Yeah. This was the stop that makes the Ravens kick their final field goal. But, just that point right there. Not that it maybe or maybe doesn't change the game, but, that forces the Ravens to kick the field goal and still be down 7 points, which does change stuff. That changes everything. Tershawn Wharton making that play. He's eating snaps up like crazy because Chris is exhausted. Yeah. Karloff is exhausted. Omenihu can't play. Dana's exhausted. Tershawn Wharton's just eating up snaps and still makes that play. Mike Pinnell was making plays on the interior. Everybody
literally
did stuff.
Everyone. Drew Tranquil had one of his best games of the year.
Was phenomenal.
He was a sneaky, incredible game.
I can't believe we've said all these guys. Guys, Justin Reed might
You
have
ruined
been
my toast game. I was hiding him for a reason.
Justin Reed might have been the very best player on the
I
Chiefs
agree.
defense
I think
today.
he was.
I think that's such a great...
Incredible today.
You find any player that played a snap in that game, and you are going to find somebody that did something that really affected that game. It's an incredible, it's incredible.
It speaks to Spags. It speaks to this coaching staff. It speaks to the commitment that the players have made. All of that. Tucker D. Franklin.
Tucker D. Franklin. D stands for back-to-back Super Bowl trips.
It does indeed stand for that. This is according to Harold Kuntz on Twitter. Charles Menahue, quote, "I'll be ready to play in the Super Bowl."
Well, let's hope so.
That'd be big because it sounds
gonna
like
need him.
he tried to push off on it. And they said he just didn't have anything trying to push off his knee. Got, I think, on a first half scramble by Lamar. So they need him. They do. They will need him. We're gonna go back to it since my surprise has been ruined now. Justin Reed, I think, might have been the Chiefs' best player in the game, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Man, it was. Him coming downhill to play the run early on when the Ravens were trying to run the ball. I mean, his stick, was it on Gus Edwards or Justice Hill? I can't remember which running back.
I believe it was on Gus.
Trying to work around the hill, picks him up, plants him in the ground. His blitzing, I mean, Lamar catches the pass, but him getting up in the air and deflecting the one play. Later on, he comes flying through, completely runs through Justice Hill, and finally sacks Lamar Jackson because he doesn't go too high and just try to go over his helmet. He was outstanding. On the interception, Deion Bush's interception, like, we can argue a little bit about being a little early or not. That ball's thrown way behind, and Justin Reed's right on his back hip. Of course he's going to run into him a little bit. Perfect coverage, forces Lamar to put the ball in a bad spot. Like, outstanding play from Justin Reed as a vocal leader, as an emotional leader of this team, too.
After getting jokes and comments and stuff off on Twitter, we are so back with the Chiefs defense. I love it so much. I love it so much. I think there's one characteristic I think about this game that I don't think we've seen as much from this defense, and not in a critical way. It's just something that I've kind of noticed, and maybe it was a point of emphasis for this team. But there was a lot of aggression downhill to try to make plays with just a lot of players flying around like a little differently than, not that they weren't get downhill in other games, but it just felt like even with Lamar, and they were just trying to shoot a block and try to make a play and get Lamar's feet to stop. Mike Edwards, Justin Reed coming off the top of the head. There's just something. There was a very aggressive downhill mind when guys broke contain, when guys were down in the run game. It just felt like a point of emphasis for this team in this game.
Absolutely, and we've seen it from those sorts of guys in the past. Shamari Connor is a heat-sinking missile coming downhill here, and Lamar Jackson had one where he broke free late in the game, and it looked like, oh, this could be a big scramble, and here comes Shamari Connor downhill. You saw Lamar Jackson, like, immediately, his posture changed when he saw that. It was, nope, I want no part of this man. I don't want anything to do with him. It really speaks to the physicality of this Chiefs defense, and we've spent so many years, not just under Steve Spagnuolo, but under previous defensive coordinators, where maybe we've looked at this defense and gone, come on, man, make a tackle, make a play, just come up with a stop. And now here we are with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, where we're pointing to that and we're going, Chiefs held one of the NFL's best offenses after playing.
Yeah, it was a nightmare matchup for them.
That was a nightmare matchup for them after playing
with the MVP quarterback.
Two of the NFL's best offenses in the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
So here's the thing. For a long time, too, for this Chiefs defense for the past few years under Andy Reid, we've had different complaints. Sometimes they've been not physical enough, right? They've been a little soft. They hunted for plays, but they were a little too soft. Okay, well, guess what? They're really physical now. Sometimes under Steve Spagnuolo, they've not been athletic enough, right? They've been a little slow or stuff like that. Guess what? This team is now fast and athletic and comes downhill and makes plays. Oh, you also need to make big plays. One of the criticisms I've had this year is they don't create turnovers. They were really bad at creating turnovers. Well, boy, what did they do today?
4 of them. Was that 4 of them? 4 of them. 2 picks, 2 fumbles. Yes.
Turnovers.
Yes.
They did everything. That's what this defense is under Steve Spagnuolo. It's been everything. It's everything they need. And this takes so much pressure off the Chiefs offense to not have to do everything. And so the Chiefs offense has been uneven. And we talked about already, they've been uneven in this game. But the defense is now what you can run. It's the constant. And I had my doubts that they could be this level of a constant in the playoffs because it just doesn't happen in the NFL. The rules make it to where this is not a constant in the NFL.
Correct.
We are 3 games in against 3 very different offenses now. And it has been a damn constant that the opposing offense can't do anything. And granted, the Bills did have success. It was just slow.
I think, a part of, I think there's been a little bit in the back of our heads, right, about, in this playoff run, not that, I told you I'm never picking against Patrick Mahomes, but when you look in retrospect in some of these games, you're like, well, but it was really, really cold, so I don't know if I trust that the Dolphins sample, what we saw from the Dolphins is totally real, but I don't know if the offense has really started to figure some things out because the Buffalo Bills, defense is in shambles and, I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts here. The Chiefs outclassed Baltimore in Baltimore. They won by an entire score. They were up 10 points for the vast majority of this game. They flat out played a team that was the fourth best DVOA team in the history of the world. And the spreadsheet's going to Cabo this week. I don't know. There's no more excuses, right? And to Maddie's point, there's a strong sample size. There's no damage to that armor. It's real. What this team is doing is real, and it's what's guiding this team having success in the Super Bowl or making it to the Super Bowl. And so, the offense has finally started to find enough to win massive, massive games. And here we are. This team is going to the Super Bowl again. 6th straight AFC Championship game appearance, back-to-back AFC champions, 3 of the last 4. Just surreal. Surreal.
We are sitting here right now. This Chiefs defense has allowed 27 points one time.
Wow.
One time. 24 2 times. One of them most recently to the Bills in the last game. Every other game was 21 points or under. No other defense this season has done that. And I realize from a DVOA perspective what the Ravens have done, they held, they had some spikes here and there, but largely kept a lot of teams down. But this is one of those that it has been consistent. It has been a constant. Steve Spagnuolo, just, man, put the crown on him.
He's one of the best defensive coordinators
of all time.
And it's inarguable, and he might wind up getting another ring out of here. Tucker D. Franklin is here to tell you about DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about DraftKings. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Here's what you got to do. You got to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code KCSN. New customers can bet $5, get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Love our friends at DraftKings. I put the whole DraftKings account on the Kansas City Chiefs, and that worked out.
That is Tucker D. Franklin. Patrick Mahomes ends the game 30 of 39, 241 yards, 6.2 yards per attempt. That number kind of slowly went down as the game kind of went on.
Went over though,
and then spiked at the end.
That last throw got him over the his passing total. I believe it got down to 239.5 was the last number I saw before the game started.
Speaking of DraftKings, 241 yards on in the air for Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs averaged 2.8 yards per carry.
Yeah,
and that's Isaiah Pacheco's exact average as well. 24 carries, 68 yards.
They couldn't do stuff.
They were struggling.
Their offense could not really function after essentially the 2 scoring drives that kind of started the game. Their offense really kind of slowed down a little bit. They were struggling to get anything going and even get themselves favorable looks. But they kept the ball. They made drives when they needed to. They didn't make their defense continuously go out there after the defense played long drives and then give them back out there after 3 and out. They were doing what they do. No big mistakes. It's complimentary football. Like, that's exactly what it is to a T, and, like, we're used to as Chiefs fans wanting it to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Defense, just don't screw over the offense. Well, this year it doesn't have to be that, right? The defense is doing everything they need to. The offense just has to not put them in a bad spot. Again, in the Super Bowl, you can't expect to score 0 points off this many turnovers, like, over and over again. That's just something to improve on. And they're not going to play the Ravens defense.
We have been saying this for how many
True.
weeks in a row?
True.
You can't play that way and still expect to beat elite teams, and here they are in the Super Bowl
And
again.
the offense has gotten better. To the
It
credit,
has.
right? This offense has gotten so much better than what it was down the stretch in the regular season. Because like they don't win these last 2 games if the offense was as bad as it was down the second half of the regular season. They've clearly figured some stuff out. And all it takes, you have a Rashee Rice game. You have a game where the run game is working. You have a game where Travis Kelce rewinds the clock 365 days, and it doesn't. Nothing else matters.
I mean, well, yeah, and like I
It
think
was Travis
10 catches.
Rashee.
Yep.
No, he had 11 catches.
It was 11 catches, 116 yards for Travis Kelce and a touchdown.
In the VS.
Rasheed Rice, 8 catches, 46 yards.
Isaiah Pacheco had 4 targets.
Yep, he had 4 catches.
And 4 catches. Nobody else had more than 2 targets
Oh
in the
my!
day.
Brock Purdy just
Nobody
threw the
had
worst
more
pass of
than
all time.
2 catches.
I couldn't even not
sorry.
react to that. Too.
Yeah,
I'm with you, kid.
I'm sorry, that was so bad. He's so bad.
I had to react too.
Anyways, but yeah, yeah, Travis Kelce had this great game. Here's the one thing I'm talking about when I say game management. There's a couple of things I want to think about as we're not looking too far ahead to the Super Bowl, but it's really hard not to, especially watching. We're watching the game right now. But I just this is the toughest challenge defensively that the Chiefs are going to see the rest of the year. I think the Baltimore Ravens are the most difficult defense left. I think you can get both of these teams.
Fair.
I think the Chiefs have got both of these teams before. I think they're susceptible. I think if the Chiefs needed to be more aggressive in that game and Patrick Mahomes had to go Patrick Mahomes a little bit more to win that game, they would have. And I point to the last play of the game that we saw.
Yeah.
Third and 8.
That's an aggressive as hell play call.
3rd and 8. It was 3rd and 8, right?
Yeah.
We were literally.
Was it
9?
3rd and 11? I thought.
Oh, maybe.
I thought
I
they.
have to go check on that.
thought it
Anyways,
was
3rd
39.
down. We're talking. We're trying to figure out all right. So what do we want? We're going through scenarios about 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8. What would you call? And I said, hey, let's call a sprint out on 3rd and 5 to kind of close the game. That way Mahomes can kill the clock and start. We can at least get this thing down to the 2-minute and get a good punt, right? Then we talk about 3rd and 8, and it's like, well, what do you do? I run the football. Just let your defense go win the football game. Well, a 3rd and long situation. What
3rd
was
and 9?
3rd and 9. We get a 3rd and 9 situation, and Mahomes goes out and wins the football game for this team.
Crazy.
And he goes and he makes a big zero
Mahomes
pressure.
And MVS.
And MVS. MVS deserves a ton of
Off his
credit.
back foot, fading away. He's doing the throw that everybody's talking about this year is like what the great quarterbacks play. He's off his back foot. He's lobbing it up and over. MVS does a great job getting on top of the DB. Tracks the football over the wrong shoulder. The ball should have been out across to the sideline. Mahomes left it up a little bit to the inside, so MVS has to switch shoulders, track the football. He kind of trips trying to flip his shoulders, still catches it on the way down.
Yeah.
Never a doubt. MVS hauls it in. Wins the game. I mean, how many times this year have the Chiefs taken a 3rd and long inside their own red zone, called that shot play on 3rd down, and everybody gets really mad because everyone's just like, oh, no, there's no chance the Chiefs are ever going to connect it. They've done it a lot. They've been very aggressive on 3rd and longs, even when the games get tight. Now, it hasn't been ever quite that situation. Don't matter. You trust the best player to ever play the game of football in that moment. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I probably expected a sprint. 3rd and 9, you can't really sprint out, right?
No.
I was all about giving him the football and letting him have the chance to take a sack. When he threw that moon ball off his back foot, I was like, okay, that's a choice. And guess what? It dropped
the right choice.
Right around where it needed to be. And MVS makes everything count. And then he gets up with the football in hand and tells everybody to be quiet because it's done.
Go eat some crab cakes.
And he's right. And he's absolutely right. Everybody within this fan base spent all year dogging on this man for good reason at times. He was not good for long stretches against the Buffalo Bills and now against the Baltimore Ravens. Makes monster catches.
And I want to give Matty some credit here too, because this is something he's been talking about for a month. And this is something I think he's kind of led the conversation on is, MVS needs to stay on the field. He needs to be a guy that needs to, they can trust him. He helps get things lined up. He may not be the most dynamic guy, yada, yada, yada. But, he's been reliable when this team needed it the most. And
good blocker.
Playoff MVS is back. And, he's making big plays yet again.
You know what he reminds me of a little bit? And I've realized they're completely different players right now. They're used completely differently. This feels like playoff Sammy Watkins a little bit. Where all of a sudden it's just like, oh, man, it's a great thing we have that guy on this squad. Yeah.
I'll buy it. 'Cause, it's the playoffs. Since, you're right. It's not quite the same because with MVS, you're kind of hunting for the one or two plays a game versus being like a factor, like a real main part of the offense.
Volume
but still,
targets,
it's there. And it's, it saw him last week versus the Bills showing up in a big way. He's showing up this week in a huge way at the end of the game. And then, to Ken's point, we kind of spent a little bit of time there flirting around with this. Can this be McCole Hardman? Can he be the deep threat? We're flirting around with all these guys trying to see if anybody else can take this role because it wasn't working. It wasn't working with MVS. But at the end of the day, MVS does multiple things that they need. He does block well. He does get guys lined up. He does know all the routes that he's supposed to run, right? He knows it all. He can do it all the right way. You can't say that about everybody else I just named. And then, oh, by the way, he is still their most proven. He is the best, by far, bar none, the best vertical receiver on this team. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, his career speaks to that. So they need him. He has to be out there for that reason. I get, like Kent's point, he's kind of been still championing. You got to give McCole a chance. And I agree. McCole has different speed, but I think there's a different level of trust. And I think you even see that with this team that they have and Mahomes and MVS to connect, and they do McCole right now.
The Chiefs agreed because McCole really didn't play much. I mean, he really didn't play much.
And it paid off.
I think it's kind of funny here. We're talking about playoff Sammy Watkins, and that feels like forever ago. The Chiefs haven't lost, or the Chiefs haven't been to. They've been to an AFC Championship game.
The Chiefs still have not lost in regulation of the AFC Championship
It's just
game
like it's
with Patrick Mahomes as
Right.
their quarterback, as their starting.
even though playoff Sammy feels like forever ago. That's just absurd what this team is doing. It's absurd the kind of success that this team is having. And it's surreal to just be a part of it. Tucker D. Franklin has more.
He's got a heater right now, I can tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you guys were talking, it kind of got me thinking. We're talking about how the success of this team, right? Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost a road playoff game in his career, so that narrative.
I guess you want to play him at Arrowhead.
Yeah, he has a better record on the road than he does at home.
I guess the rest of the AFC just wants to play him at Arrowhead now. I don't know what to do.
Well,
Imagine being a GM of an AFC team right now. Imagine just sitting there and being like, I don't know what the fuck we have to do.
well, I think I've been thinking about this thing a lot too. Is the cycle of AFC teams? I mean, the Ravens were the 1 seed the first season that the Chiefs were in the made it to the AFC Championship game. I think the Ravens were the 1 seed and they blew it, and they kind of took a step back. They've kind of not been particularly great the last few years. Or maybe it was the second year. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The Ravens were not really in the mix in a very tangible way the last 3 years, and then the cycle has returned, and they're back, and now all of a sudden the Bills are kind of in cap hell, and now all of a sudden Joe Burrow might be losing T. Higgins. It's like we have
a QB controversy.
The Chiefs, and the QB controversy for the fraud goals. They might have paid the wrong one. I just it's the cycle. I think it's just wild to see the cycle that we've endured as Chiefs fans, and it's multiple teams, multiple versions of teams trying to do this, trying to pull this off, and not being able to. Like, the Chiefs just, no version has been able to kill the Chiefs over 6 years, and people don't appreciate how hard it is to do that.
I think the problem is the reason people don't appreciate it is because the Patriots just did it, right? And I know Chiefs fans,
Correct.
I'm sure, and everybody gets a little annoyed drawing all these comparisons because the Patriots were so hated and you don't want to compare your favorite team to them. That's what they did. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think it falls flat to us, right? I don't think it falls flat to people, Chiefs fans or anything like that. But I think just in general, it's because the Patriots just did all this same stuff, right? And so all was like, oh yeah, this is just what happens. There's generations of football fans that only know a team being this dominant. That's all they know. All they know is that one team sits atop the NFL year after year and is being hunted down by every single other team. They don't understand the fact that doesn't exist. They don't understand the fact that the NFL is designed for parity. It is designed for a team to not stay at top as long as they can. Cash spending, draft picks, everything that goes into it is designed to make sure one team doesn't stay at the top. And there's clearly only one way to get around that. It's called get the best damn quarterback that exists on your football team, and that is what two franchises have done in the past 30 years.
I have been writing the Chiefs postseason history over the past week.
Yes,
I
you
wrote
have. It's great.
the 60s through the 80s. Chiefs success. They win a Super Bowl. They do all of that. I wrote
Dinosaurs.
the 90s, the early 2000s.
Oof.
I intentionally did not write this last chapter yet.
Ooh.
Because I wanted to see how this ended. Yeah. And as you go back through that, and as you sit and kind of break it up in that way, there were a lot of really good Chiefs football teams that never won a playoff game.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really good football teams that just couldn't ever get over the hump. And the obstacle in their path was always, it's Dan Marino, it's Jim Kelly, it's Peyton Manning, it's Tom Brady. It's all of these guys that are just regarded as top of the heap level quarterbacks, and they were obstacles. And Chiefs fans, you are that obstacle now.
Mhm.
You have that guy. Don't take any of this for granted. Everybody hates you because you are the one that has it.
I don't think it's entirely set in yet that the Chiefs are going to be playing for back-to-back Super Bowls. A chance to go back-to-back
Nah,
again.
it's there for me right now. It's there, and like I am so ready for them to win that game, to win back-to-back Super Bowls, and just become the most hated team in sports history. I mean, like I understand that people hate the Patriots, right? And that's definitely recency bias, and because I'm a Chiefs fan, right? So it feels worse when everybody hates you. But like they are gonna be so hated when that happens, and that's gonna feel so good.
Yeah.
This was the down year. Last year was the rebuild year. This was the down year.
Yeah, last year you said don't fuck around and
Thank
let
you.
the Chiefs win the Super Bowl last year. They did.
They did.
Guess what? This year, going into it, the hopes were higher, but you get anywhere between October and the middle of January, and nobody had this team really pegged. It's like, oh no, that's the team that's winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You really want to screw around and let this team that couldn't even be the 1 seed, couldn't be the 2 seed in the regular season despite being mostly healthy, win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
When every team's chasing them, target on their back every single week, and you're going to let them win a Super Bowl.
And I think it's kind of important to know that there's probably going to be things about this team that drive us nuts for the next decade, because it's going to get increasingly harder for this team. There's always going to be some kind of flaw like this that we're all going to point to during the regular season. Because that's just, I mean, the salary cap is, like Maddie said, parity, and Mahomes' contract continues to, to get bigger and bigger and all that stuff. But it didn't matter. The Chiefs have one viable wide receiver and playoff MVS, and
the Chiefs didn't have any salary cap, and they made 2 of the best free agent signings in the NFL this
Mike
season.
Edwards and Drew Tranquil.
I think you're forgetting Charles Omenihu
And
as well.
Charles Omenihu,
They're both offensive tackles.
Oh my goodness, the offensive line was good today. I know we didn't give them
Yeah.
a ton of, and we'll get into more of the details and stuff like that in the lab tomorrow. This is just kind of fun,
Fresh.
enjoyment, sort of things. But the Chiefs had to play smart with their money this offseason. They did play smart with their money this offseason, and Chris Jones just turned around and made a whole bunch of money.
Yep. Tucker D. Franklin.
Yeah, a couple notes.
Rip it.
Taylor Swift was on the field for the celebration. I don't know if you saw that. Haters are sick.
That is gonna piss a lot.
Okay,
of
maybe
people.
they're more hated than the Patriots.
That's gonna be upset. That's gonna upset the people. Haven't hit the podium yet, just because trophy celebration and everything.
Sure.
But I'm keeping my eye out.
Have we gotten pictures of Creed and they can't go get beer because they're not at Arrowhead?
Sure. Well, if they did, that would be kind of.
Okay, that'd be even better. Wait, give me. I need all the pictures.
Trey wheeling in the giant cases of Miller
I
Lite
need-
in Baltimore Stadium.
I need the pictures of Creed and Trey Smith, shirtless, still in their pants, going to get the beers from the Baltimore concession stands, please.
So a couple more things from me. I have a poll up now. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can go and vote. Who do you want to see in the Super Bowl? There's been 360 votes in it so far. Who do you guys think is the leading vote getter?
I know
The
who it is.
Niners.
I think fans want to play the Lions.
I think fans want to play the Lions as well.
I think fans want to play Brock Purdy.
83% of the vote is on one team,
The Lions.
and that is the Detroit Lions.
Kent not a man of the people. We know this.
I think it'd be a fun to have a first and last game kind of.
No,
Yeah,
that would
that's
be
what they're
cool.
voting
That'd be a
for.
great
I think
storyline.
people want a revenge. People want to get the revenge for that first.
They want
loss.
to play Chris. Want to play the Lions with Chris and Travis.
And this last point I have here, Devin Albertson put a tweet from me in there. I tweeted this after the Chiefs beat the Dolphins. Quote, "The Chiefs are so back. The vibes have never been higher. Bring me Buffalo. Bring me Baltimore. I want the hardest road possible. Playoff Pat is activated. It's over."
Get it, Tuck.
I'll have to ask you about that one later too.
Pull my receipts.
Get it, Tuck. I was going just to the potential Super Bowl-ish preview here, right? Like, I think people would like to play the Lions because they beat them. I think people also remember the last time Jared Goff was in the Super Bowl against a good defense. And that might seem like a pretty easy road. So, I think that's what people want. I'm not surprised.
I would. I would love to play the Lions too. Don't get me wrong. I actually feel really good about playing either of these teams.
I think I'd rather see the Niners. I think it's an easier matchup for the Chiefs.
I kind of do too.
I don't care.
Yeah,
That's
true.
I want the Terez Bowl. It is Terez's birthday
do it.
today, by the way, everybody, and the Chiefs won.
We're rocking the all juice
We're rocking
today.
the all juice today, and so if the Lions won here, it'd be pretty poetic.
Be a pretty cool moment. Let's. I think it's time for toast game.
It's time for toast game. Let's do it.
Finally got to put the football down.
Yep.
Psych.
Oh man. Let's see here. Tuck, are you gonna be back there hanging out, or are you coming up with us for toast game?
I'll just hang out right here.
Okay.
I don't have a microphone, but I guess BJ does.
I'm gonna get. Yeah, I was gonna give it to you. Well, actually, whenever you're ready, Tuck, we'll get going with toast game.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm gonna let BJ start.
I know
Fine.
this one.
You go.
You
You go
gotta go with
first.
the one you've been talking about all day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Go with your gut then.
Well, I was gonna go with Spags, but I feel like that's
I just
for
thought
it.
you were gonna go with
I
MVS
was just
because you've
looking
just been calling that all day. Was all.
yeah. I'm gonna shout out MVS. Everybody's been talking about on social media as much criticism as he's been given, which I feel like, to be fair, was deserved at the time for not stepping up. We always said you're one good game away from redemption, and he tends to have his best game in the AFC Championship. He has 5 catches for 108 yards in the playoffs. Like, he does exactly what needs to happen when his name is called. But Spags, I can't not say this. Buffalo, Miami, and Baltimore were the top 3 offenses in the AFC during the regular season. They averaged, between the 3 of them, over 28 points per game. Against C. Spagnuolo in the playoffs, 13 points per game. Less than half. So, shout out, little Ben Holiday bourbon. Shout out to MVS. We'll start with MVS. You've definitely earned it. We appreciate you. We salute you.
Maddie, let's go with you.
Okay, I guess. I mentioned it earlier. Craig spoiled my surprise. I'm going back to it. I don't care. Justin Reed. I just thought he was phenomenal all game. I think he has been a tone setter for this defense all year, and it continued in this game, right? You want to look at a guy that's going to play physical, downhill. He's going to do just enough talking that it creates an intensity and a level of who we are. He is that guy. He's blitzing, his coverage in this game. I thought it was all perfect. And yeah, to me, I like having a defender that gets on Twitter, searches up his name, and claps at people that are talking down about him. I'm sorry, I like it. I liked it when Tyrann Mathieu did it in the right ways, right? There's wrong ways and right ways. I think Justin Reed's done it the right ways. I like it when I have a defender that does that. Again, I've said it since the first time he did that. The Chiefs are back. It took the offense a little while to catch up. The defense was there. He was phenomenal once again. I don't think they win this game without Justin Reed playing the way he did because he was a huge part of that defensive effort to stop the Baltimore Ravens across the board. So Justin Reed, big shout out to him.
Craig?
I mean, there are so many options on the defense to choose from. It is very hard to narrow this down for me.
Do it.
Which is why I'm going on the offense. Travis Kelce. My goodness. Now the playoff leader in receptions, getting closer and closer to the playoff leader in touchdown receptions, in yardage, in all of those stats. Those are untouchable Jerry Rice records. Absolutely untouchable. And look at this man. Just slowly closing in on him. Takes one of them from him today. 11 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown in a game that they needed every single one of those. And the best one, Patrick Mahomes scrambling across, throwing back to the middle of the field, and Travis Kelce diving forward to make the catch. That was a monster play early in this game. An absolutely huge play. Travis Kelce, yet another one of these. Cheers.
And all the little first downs and Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith's
Oh,
face.
my goodness. They just needling those guys. Oh.
Tucker D. Franklin.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time thinking about mine. I spent a lot of time thinking about who was going to be my toast game. It really just comes down to a quote from one of my favorite football players, Marshawn Lynch. He says, I know I'm going to get mine. I know I'm going to get God, but I'm going to get mine before I get God. And I thought Nick Allegretti, he got sometimes, but Nick Allegretti got his.
Yeah,
and Nick Allegretti played really well, stepping up for Joe Tooney. He's an all-pro. Tough shoes to fill. Did it very well. And I got to cheers to good health, too. Got to get healthy going into the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Favorite
but
Allegretti
a
play
couple of
was
those
him
ones.
pulling Travis Kelce off of the one time where
Yep.
Kelce might have lost his cool,
Yes.
pushing a player down on the ground.
Mhm.
Allegretti is the one that picked him up off of him and pulled him back to the huddle.
All right, so I'll close this out. I'm going to go with Andy Reid. And so I think when we're on the outside looking in, we are all looking at the things that we think can keep a team from winning the Super Bowl. And like that's what fandom is about, is looking at it in the lens of this is a problem. We're going to talk about it on social media. We're going to talk about it on our podcasts, our articles, everything. There's a lot of, discourse about the things that are potentially keeping the Chiefs from winning the Super Bowl. And there were a lot of issues this year, different than they've ever been for this team. We are not accustomed to some of the stuff that we've endured with this team. 6 losses in the regular season. I mean, this team went the hard way. But I think it's a credit to that coaching staff. I think it's a credit to this team how they didn't panic. They maintained the championship mentality that they possess. The DNA of this team shone bright this month when we were all doubting whether or not this team was going to be able to figure it out in the pass catchers. I mean, we all were. Like, let's be honest.
Are they going to win a playoff game?
Are they going to win a play? I mean, like, seriously, like.
I asked a serious question. If they only win the wild card round and then lose, if they go 1 and done in the playoffs, I asked this to the KCS in Discord, is that a failure of the year based on preseason expectations and then expectations as the year went on? Like, that was a legitimate question, and people answered on both sides of it because that's the state of where we got to with how it had looked all year.
I think there's a credit to Andy Reid. I'll give it back to you because I'm sure you got a lot of perspective on this. But the fact that Andy Reid was never a prisoner of the moment the way we all are on the outside. And, we thought he was kind of crazy for just doing the same old at times, right? And just saying the same things that he would always say about this particular version of the Chiefs. They figured stuff out. They believed. They stuck to what they do and how they do it. And they rallied together, galvanized, and figured out how to make it again to the Super Bowl and win another Lamar Hunt trophy, the 4th Lamar Hunt trophy in the Patrick Mahomes era. They're planning for another freaking Super Bowl again in 2 weeks. The draft guide's going to be delayed, and I don't care. I think Andy Reid deserves a lot of credit. So I do want to cheers to Andy Reid as well.
I know you guys talked about him earlier. Can't not talk about L'Jarius Sneed because as a fan, when there's nothing you can do about it and you see another team punking your guys and doing some of the cheap stuff, especially the Roquan Smith hit late, those types of things and getting in their faces after the game and you feel like they're trying to play a little bully ball, for L'Jarius Sneed to be taunted upon and then to come back 4 plays later and to make that play. It is the ultimate fuck around and find out. We saw it before the game with him getting after with Justin Tucker and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the stuff pregame, getting in their face. Arthur Millette. There was multiple examples of those guys doing it, and shout out to L'Jarius Sneed for clapping back and karma and all those types of things for what they were able to do, but can't not talk about the biggest play of the game.
I mean, the MVS one?
I was talking about L'Jarius Sneed knocking out his Zay Flowers.
There's so many. You could.
George Karlaftis a sack.
Seriously, you can point to so many big moments in this game. You can talk about Zay Flowers, making a crucial mistake he's going to have to live with in Cancun next week. You can talk about Lamar Jackson making those interceptions and all that stuff. Just some huge plays for this team. Just the chief fence across the board played incredible.
I like what you said about Andy Reid, and I think we all learned a lesson in that it's one thing to doubt it when Patrick Mahomes, the offense, is going to put up a lot of points, and they struggled in a way that we hadn't seen them struggle. We hadn't seen them overcome it before. But at this point, it doesn't matter what the struggles are because we know they'll figure out a way to get it done. And even when they were struggling and people were going too far saying this offense sucks, and they weren't losing by a lot. The margin of error was being very close, and they know when they get to these games, they know how to handle these moments. And we saw it again today. And the receipt-keeping display that we're going to see for the next couple of weeks is going to be amazing because Chiefs fans have gotten really, really good.
The national media
receipts.
is in trouble. They've been talking so much. It's going to be great. Well, anyways, we're going to be here at KC Sports Network breaking all things Super Bowl down for y'all. We can't wait. The lab will be back tomorrow. Only Weird Games will be back tomorrow, getting you ready for yet another Super Bowl. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for drinking with us, celebrating here a little bit. Appreciate y'all. Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl again.
Tucker, you going to go jump in the pool?
It's too dark and cold.
Bye.